Hello and welcome to the Game Changer series for Global Entrepreneurship Week 2016 in association with Business Crowd. And today I'm very pleased to be interviewing the mentor and author Anne Hawkins. Anne has a wealth of business knowledge and specialises in helping businesses to grow and to grow sustainably and profitably, and also runs Drive the Network, which is a networking group unlike others that I've seen. So Anne, today you're going to speak with us about how businesses particularly can survive in the first few years. So would you like to share with people a little bit about your business experience? What has inspired you to work with businesses in the growth area?
Hello Laura, thank you very much for inviting me to do this, and yes, I'd be delighted to share a little bit of the background. About 10 years ago I was running events called Inspirational Speakers, and after each event the business owners would go away thoroughly inspired and talking about what they were going to do to change their businesses and to become more successful. And then the next month they'd turn up again, and I would say to them, "What did you do, in the last month?" And of course they had gone straight back into doing the business and hadn't had time to work on their businesses and to put any growth plans in place. So I started running mastermind groups for the people who were really keen to break out of this, just being on a treadmill, doing every week the same. And that was the start of it all, really, because those mastermind groups were just so revolutionary in the way that people were helping each other. The pressure of a peer group and accountability to that peer group was something most of them hadn't experienced before, and they realized that that was a lot of what was missing from their business, of someone to hold them to account to do the things they said they were going to do. So that's really where it all started.
Okay. And it's evolved for you into Drive the Network and also Pitch for People, which is a really interesting project, which is fostering collaboration between businesses in the early stages.
Yes, that's right. One of the things that happens, as I'm sure you know, when you build a big network is people are constantly saying to you, "I'm looking for this type of person or those types of skills. Who do you recommend?" And it got, it got to the point where that was taking up so much time, because I would never recommend anyone that I didn't know would do a really good job. So you're always checking up on people and asking people to feed back in if they've had a good experience, and building this network and building this knowledge. And a friend of mine had an experience a few years ago where he had a project he wanted to get started and just couldn't find the people with the right talent. And so we got together, and he'd been talking about doing this for a long time, but we got together and found some other people who could help us, and put Pitch for People together. So what happens there is that people with particular skills and talents can put a profile on the site completely free of charge, and people with a project can put the details of the project, and there's a search facility so they can find each other. And the site is supported by sponsors, so it's completely free of charge. And we don't get in the middle of it. If people want to offer equity or a hot meal or a bunch of flowers or real pay and real money, that's entirely up to them. So we leave that all to them. But we're just attracting people who want to work in a kind of trusted way on projects that might interest them.
And that's one of the things that's really important in business, particularly in the early days when people are speaking out. You've already spoken about peer support, but also that finding community, finding other people who they can trust to work alongside and perhaps develop and benefit from that difference in skill sets that entrepreneurs have.
That's right. One of the things that I try and do with people when they're starting a business is say, what skills have you got? what are the bits that are missing, and let's try and fill those gaps before you get too far down the line and find you're trying to do things that you never really intended to do or wanted to do or are suited to do. That's one of the things that stops businesses growing, is when the owner tries to do too much themselves and doesn't have that other network of people to come in and do the things that they're suited for.
So in your experience, obviously, with the many businesses you've worked with, what are the key distinctions between those that flourish and those that fail?
As I've mentioned, the ones that tend to fail are the ones where there are a number of factors. One is being underfunded when you start. There's this myth around that it's easy to start a business now, and you don't need a lot of money in the bank or financing and all that kind of stuff. And in some ways, it is very, very easy to start a business. You can put a website together very easily, and you've got everything that you need in the cloud, and it's all it's easy to access. But what a lot of people are missing out on is making a plan, and I hate using the words business plan because it switches people off, but having some kind of a basic plan that shows when the profits are coming in. And so if you're running a business and you're just taking out all of the money that you make to live on, that business is not likely to grow in any meaningful way. So knowing when the profits kick in and how long you've got before you can actually take a wage out of the business and have some money left to invest in the business, to bring in other people and hire skills and all that kind of stuff that you need to grow, is absolutely crucial.
Do you think a lot of that comes from mindset? Because I think if people are going in with the attitude that they're going to be successful, what they're more likely to do is to make a plan which is going to define, when we make X amount of money, this is what we're going to invest in, this is going to progress things from A to B. And perhaps I think people are getting a little bit confused between running what I would call service businesses or lifestyle businesses against running a business that's really tangibly going to make a difference and create products and be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Laura. One of the things I say to people is what you're actually doing is just creating a job for yourself, and you're probably going to be the worst boss you've ever had because you'll be working 24/7 for very little reward. And that's a shame, because people start out with lots of hopes and dreams and and great ideas of having a lifestyle where they can work with the kind of people they want and do the things they want, and then they end up on this dreadful treadmill because there aren't enough resources to make the business grow. So that's a really, really good point that you make, and it is about mindset. It's about am I actually going to start a business that will grow and hopefully one day will exist without me, or am I just going to create a job for myself and be a self-employed person? And there's nothing wrong with that, so long as you are actually getting the lifestyle that you want out of it.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I think, as you say, a lot of people start out with the hopes and dreams and the big vision, and then that diminishes because of the issues of funding or because they've not fully gone in with a strategic approach. And I think the other thing, it's around not just the resources of finance, but the personal resources of resilience, of the support of the people around them, of having the right structures in place, because beginning a business is something that is all-consuming.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, the whole thing about running a business, the skills that are needed, the knowledge that's needed, is missing. People start a business because they want to do something that they love. They want to be a photographer or a hairdresser or a web designer or a graphic designer or something like that. That's what they want to do. And then it comes as a real shock when they realise that they have to do the VAT return, or and don't know whether they should be a limited company or dealing with Companies House and all this kind of stuff. And they really don't want to do that. It's not what they signed up for. And so having other people around them who say right from the beginning, look, get the foundations right, and then your life will be much easier, and you do stand a much better chance of launching this business and making it work.
Yeah, exactly, because then they can focus on the specialist area that they bring the talent to.
Yeah.
Interesting, one of the other interviewees is focusing on outsourcing, Annabelle Kay, over the series. And I think that is one of the things. It's knowing what to outsource and doing it quickly so that as a business owner, your time is actually spent on the things that matter or the things that you
Yeah.
enjoy doing.
Yes, yes, and we all like to spend more time on the things we enjoy, but unfortunately in a business that's not always the things that make the most profit.
So coming to that, when we're looking at businesses longer term as they go through growth, how do you work with them to identify what they should be doing, what they should be focusing on more of to generate profit and to obviously increase opportunities for employing more staff and growing and getting their brands out there?
I create a growth program with the people I work with. So we look at where they want to be in 3 years' time and then bring it back to a detailed 12-month program. And that will look at things like, do they want premises? Do they want employees? Do they want vehicles? Do they, what kind of things involved in all of that? And then, getting really, really gritty about it, looking at fixed costs and variable costs and all that kind of stuff that puts people off. But if they've got someone there to talk them through it, it's much easier to do. And then what we do is focus on all of the activities in the business and look at the ones that make the profit and look at the ones that are not so profitable, but perhaps they're the things that the business owner enjoys most. And then, as you said, look at stuff that can be outsourced. Which bits can only the business owner do? And then you have to figure out a way to make sure that there are other people who can do those as well, and you've got some kind of succession planning and make sure that they've got time off, to go on holiday and the whole thing doesn't fall apart. So there's an awful lot of things that need to go in right at the beginning to make sure that the foundations are there to get that growth happening.
And how do you find that works with the business owners? Does it simplify things for them so that their skill level is raising as they're growing into their business?
Yes, an awful lot. Just a simple thing like having a cash flow forecast that they look at every day. It makes a huge amount of difference. When they can see, it need only be just an A4 sheet of paper, but when they can see what money's coming in and what's due out, by golly, it focuses the mind on, how they're going to run their day. Are they going to pick up the phone and go chasing money that's owed to them, or are they going to pick up the phone and chase new business because there isn't any money due in? It really can be as simple as that.
I think the best decisions in running a business, it should be simplified and, exception management as far as possible rather than the focus on the day-to-day. There's things that need to be done, but the more that businesses can automate now, and there's huge opportunities, I think, for business. When we talk about being easy to start a business, the thing that impresses me now is the amount of technology and infrastructure we have access to that maybe 5 to 10 years ago was only available in multinationals.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, that's something that I take people through. And I've got a whole section on my website about automate everything that can be automated. Every business needs to send invoices, so get them out of the way, get it set up. And there are so many programs now where it's not just the invoice, but all the reminders will go out as well automatically if the invoice hasn't been paid. And that will sync with your CRM system. And getting people to use CRM is a big step too, but can make a huge difference. And choosing the right one for the business and how that integrates with all the other bits of software. And again, it can look quite daunting because there is so much choice. But there are an awful lot of people around who very quickly can say, this goes with that and that goes with that, and this will sync with your phone and your laptop and all that kind of stuff, and off you go. And once all those basic things are in place, life is much, much simpler.
And out of the businesses that you've worked with, Anne, over the years, which are the ones that really stand out for you as being really good role models?
Oh, my favourite one, without a doubt, is a heating and plumbing company. And it's one of the case studies in the book I wrote with Ed Goodman called New Business Next Steps. And these folk started out as heating and plumbing engineers, so they worked on the tools. But they were real craftsmen, and they knew that they could do a better job than the people who were employing them. So they started their own business. But of course they were going out and doing the work. You know, they were driving the vans and doing the work and using, you know, all of those skills. But they were really frustrated because they wanted to grow what they called a proper business, which meant employing other people. And every time they got to that point, they would look at what they could earn from the job, if they did it themselves, and look at what they'd earn from that same job if they'd employed someone else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And inevitably they'd say, we'll just do it ourselves. Because they made more profit like that. But of course they could only make as much profit as the work that they could do, and that was limited to the hours that they could work themselves. And it was when that penny dropped, and I can still see their faces. You know, I drew it all out on a bit of paper for them and said, look, you know, if you employ 6 people to do this work, you make that much on each of them, and you're in the office directing it. You're not actually doing the job, but you're making as much money as you would have done if you'd been going out and doing it yourselves.
Yeah.
And you know, it really was just spelling it out in those sorts of terms that made the difference. And since then they've just flourished. You know, they're really, really busy. They've got apprentices. They've got all kinds of huge jobs going on that they would never have dreamt of tendering for. Because they've got the staff to do it.
And that is, isn't it? It's the step over of having that leap of faith that, you know, it can be done, and that they're good enough to go for those bigger contracts and have that little bit more ambition, I think.
Yeah, and you know, as you said right at the beginning, it is so much about a mindset. You know, I know how to do this particular job or task, and I don't know about all the other stuff, so I'm just going to stick to what I know because that's where I'm comfortable. Whereas when people do have some help to step outside of that, and the support and the stories and the inspiration of knowing that other people are doing it as well and have done it in the same sort of circumstances, it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And if I could, you mentioned right at the beginning, Laura, about Drive the Network, and this is one of the reasons that we've started this. You know, it's a networking organisation that sort of networking for the 21st century, really. And one of the things that we're doing is bringing people in to talk about their business journey, if you like. You know, we had a lovely organisation in Cambridge called the Pint Shop. And it started out as a you know, a very simple formula of good food and beer, and they've now grown that to expand into Oxford and London. So they came in and told us how they got to this position. You know, one guy was a waiter and another one was a chef, and they got together and decided to start this business that has now become huge. You know, really, really popular chain, and they're employing like 80 people and doing marvellous things. But to hear them stand in front of the audience and just explain where they came from and how they did it and all the things that went wrong, because things do, you know, it's never a smooth journey, but it's about, you know, how they coped with that and how they got over that and how they raised the money and how they found the premises and the staff and all that kind of thing. And other people who are running businesses find that so inspirational because they can look at them and say, you know what, if you guys can do it, so can I.
Yeah. And I think the thing that marks the difference as well is also the passion and the commitment that people have, because usually when businesses are successful like this in moving out or franchising, expanding nationally, it's usually because there's something different around a commitment to a value, to a quality, to a level of service or product. And it sounds like this is what these guys have also had in this scenario, is that commitment to the product. They've kept it very specialist, that they probably know very well-known people in the hospitality industry, that quality and that service level that goes around products of that nature is the thing, because ultimately businesses are there to serve customers and clients.
That's right. And one of the questions that was asked of them is, how do you intend to keep this lovely idiosyncratic individual brand when you're a chain? And their answer is that they want to give autonomy to the people that they have in place in the different locations. So they will have a brand and they will have basic values in place, as you say, but the people who are running that, the pint shop in Oxford, will have a very different outlook and targets and all kinds of things to the people who are running the pint shop in London. So it's not going to be a sort of cookie cutter type of place. They will be individual, but with the same kind of values.
Absolutely. There's a lovely saying that we used to use, which was think global but act local.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that's exactly what we're doing with Drive the Network. We've decided, we're opening in major cities, but we're not saying, every meeting has to be a breakfast meeting or an evening. We're saying to the people who are running the local groups, you decide what you want. If you want to have a champagne breakfast or a curry evening, or or a lunch or afternoon, we don't care. That's just do what suits the people around you, and what the members in that particular location want. We've got our core values of how we want Drive to run, and as long as they're adhered to, all the stuff around it can be purely local.
And how is that going? Because it's a fairly new business network. So again, you've stepped into setting up another business, Anne. How is that going personally for you with all of your experience?
Well, it's something that I thought I'd left behind because I did it for 10 years, and then it's evolved into the mastermind groups and other things. And but people they kept telling me they missed it once I'd stopped doing it. And I got drawn back into it, but in a different kind of way, because now instead of running it myself, I'm running the business, and other people are running the groups, and it's going really well. We've only been going 6 months, but we've got 4 groups open in Cambridge, London, Peterborough, and Huntingdon, and then next year we're opening Bristol, Oxford, and Birmingham, and then we'll carry on through the rest of the year, opening in new cities. But there's a huge need for this, because you know as much as anyone that the internet has completely changed the way people buy. Nobody wants to be sold to anymore. Nobody wants someone in their face with a business card saying buy from me, or you can only buy from this person because they're in the same breakfast group as you, and you must refer your friends to them if they want their services, and all that. That just doesn't work anymore. Everybody's used to the transparency of social selling and the social networking, and so that's what we're using. We're bringing all of that in and really transforming business networking and making it suitable for the 21st century.
It is much more about connection and trust, and it's also about how somebody does business, not at the sense of, for example, you can have 2 accountants with exactly the same qualifications and expertise, but it's going to come down to the person that you get on with. Yeah.
Well, we call it being remarkable. And show people that you're remarkable instead of being the only choice, because you never are the only choice. All this business and lockouts and exclusivity, it's all nonsense. Because people, as you say, people choose the person that they want to do business with, regardless. And all we're doing is making it easier to find the people that you can trust.
Absolutely. And I think it's great actually to see people being able to be themselves much more in businesses, as you say, like this situation with the autonomy, with the expanding brand, to allow people to use their personalities in business, I think is a really big strength moving forward.
Yeah, my favourite social network is Twitter, because you only have to follow someone on Twitter for a couple of days to be able to see exactly what kind of person they are, unless they're really good at putting on a front, but even then, you know, when the stuff that people retweet, you know, if it's, you can spot their sense of humour, you know, the kind of films they like, the kind of politics that they're into, you know, it's just so easy to sort out the kind of people that you're most likely to want to do business with and the ones that you'd much rather avoid. And we believe in letting people do that before they get in the same room, and it's too late.
Absolutely. And I suppose that's why it's interesting with Pitch for People. It gives people that opportunity to try working with people. And when you try it, you sometimes don't know where those collaborations are going to lead.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, some things just really flourish. And others, as you say, people think, maybe this isn't quite right, but at least they haven't invested, you know, equity in their business and all that kind of stuff before they find out.
So you've shared some absolute nuggets of wisdom with us today. What would be your final piece of advice for the people that will be listening in that are either at those early stages of business or thinking about setting up a business? What would be your kind of closing message for them, Anne?
Get yourself a peer group of people that you trust. You know, it doesn't have to be a mentor, but people who have done what you want to do and are willing to share that experience and expertise with you. You know, there are hundreds of people out there who are just delighted to help other people on their business journey. And when you find that group, when you can sit in that group and ask any question you like without feeling stupid, without feeling judged, without feeling that you're going to have to implement somebody else's solution, but just the people who can encourage you to think in a bigger way, in a different way, and find the solutions that work for you, is so powerful and just so empowering. And I've seen that work with so many businesses that, you know, I really, really recommend it. So whether it's called a mastermind group or a peer group or just a networking group or whatever, you know, finding those people and helping each other, putting in as much as you get out, is really, really important.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, all of your social media links will be shared below. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much.
And you too, Laura. I've heard so much about you. It's great to actually talk to you at last.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Anne.